This one is for the making of video. This is the making of choosing a can opener. I want to show you the setup I've got here. It's slightly different to what I've done before, so I thought it might be worth just sharing. Let me spin the camera around a minute. What we've got here is I've set my tripod up. I've removed this top arm, the top extending pole, and put it back through in the horizontal position. And that allows me then to attach the camera to the smartphone holder on top, and then that then is looking straight down over the area where I'm sat. So I'm sat here, and then whatever I'm doing in front of me with my hands here is captured on the camera as it's looking down. What I've also had to do, because the weight on the end of this arm is pulling downwards, the tendency was for this tripod to tilt forwards a little bit. So to counter that, I've reduced the extension on the rear leg here so that the tripod is tilting backwards this way. And then to compensate, I've tilted forward slightly on this pan and tilt mechanism on top of the tripod so that the camera itself is perfectly horizontal and parallel to the table. The other thing I've got going on here, got my little tripod selfie stick, which is a Neewer TS04. Top of that, we've got this little mount, which has got a threaded camera mount, and on the bottom of this Neewer RGB light, there's a little thread, so I can screw this light onto the top of this mount. Then that's just pointing towards the work area down here. For the sound, got my USB microphone receiver plugged into the USB-C port on my Samsung S20 FE phone. Then running the lav mic, remembering as before to make sure that the little green light is on and steady. With this particular lav mic, there's 3 modes. With the green light on and steady, it cancels out all noise apart from my voice or people's voices. If it's flashing green, what that means is it's in environmental mode, so it will pick up my voice but also pick up background noises as well. So if I'm in a situation where I want to pick up, say, if I'm by a river and I want the sound of the river flowing to be recorded on the microphone, I can put that into environmental mode, and it will just record those background sounds as well. Then the third mode is when it turns red, the microphone is completely muted. I'll just show you now. Apologies for the wobbly camera, but the floor's a little bit bouncy here. Try not to move around too much. Show you now how this tripod can be reconfigured. So if I unscrew this here, pull this out, and then that pushes back down through that hole there into this bottom hole, and that locks into position. Then that whole assembly then can rotate, and that can also extend upwards if it needs to. And what I was doing was, for the talking head shots at the beginning and the end of the video, for the intro and outro, set the camera up here on the floor, and then you can rotate this round. To set the height, I just loosen these 3 legs and sort of do a rotational jiggle until on the camera I can see that the camera's at more or less head height, and then just lock these down. On the screen itself, I've enabled the grid. What that means is I can use that grid to slightly adjust the legs so that the camera is perfectly vertical and perfectly horizontal, so that when I'm recording the footage, I don't have to readjust the video during the edit. Basically, it's nice and level, and I don't have to worry about that in the edit. While I've got the camera set up here, I thought I'd show you this smartphone mount and the way that works. So this is sprung loaded here, and this will just rotate. It's got kind of a natural position where it goes 90 degrees, but you can lock it anywhere that you choose to. So when on my phone, obviously I've got the buttons top and bottom. On your phones, maybe top and bottom. So when I put this in the mount, you need to avoid the buttons, and then it just grips like that. You can see that if the camera's in at an angle, whoops, try again. The camera's in at an angle like this, you can just adjust this slightly. What I try and do is push it all the way up and forward so it's nice and tight in there. This will tilt forwards and backwards, also will rotate, and then there's a third adjustment on this one here. If I loosen that, that whole head will rotate around like so. Generally keep it there. So far I haven't need to adjust that. And then for ease of assembly, there's a quick release lever here. This whole plate will lift out, and this particular tripod came with 2 of these units. So if you do have a light or something that you'll use regularly, you can keep that attached to your mount. It just attaches through this screw thread here onto this smartphone camera mount. You could equally attach a light to that screw thread like this light here, look. And then this just clips in there and it's tight in there again. The other thing on top of this smartphone mount on the tripod is this cold shoe, and I can just slide the fill light onto that, and that just locks down, and that tracks around wherever you're pointing the camera. Then the light will track that detail as well. This RGB light has got an associated app on the iPhone and Android phone. I've got it installed on this Android phone. It's got various settings on it, you know, changes colors, different shades. You can increase the brightness, the color temperature. It's all fully adjustable. I'm just using on this 4,600 Kelvin, 60% brightness. That seems to suit what I need to do. I'm not a professional. I just need to put a bit of extra lighting in when it's a bit dimmer on the days where it's overcast. The other one I wanted to show while we've got the camera running is this is the Neewer monopod. You can see here it's fully extended. That's around 59 inches according to the spec. When it's fully extended, it has got a little bit of a wobble on it, but once it's finished wobbling, it's pretty stable. On the top of here, if I loosen this, you can see there's a rotary mount ball joint here. There's one section here which has got a cutout that allows you to fully angle it downwards, and then it's got maybe a 15-degree upwards angle on it as well. If you want to angle upwards more, you can rotate your camera fully around, and then using the slot, camera can point vertically upwards if you need it to. Pretty much like the other tripod, uses this sprung loaded mount for the camera. This just pulls up and down, look, sprung loaded. When you're not using this, this folds down, and then you've got this camera screw mount. And what I was using this for is to attach the video light. Then I can angle that downwards and point towards whatever I'm videoing, either downwards to point towards something on the table, in this case the can openers, or I can angle it upwards and point towards the subject, which was me when I was recording the intro and outro. When this isn't being used, this will shrink down completely. This is a lock ring which locks these feet, stops them sliding up and down. Just release that and that whole thing closes up. Put the lock ring back down, and then that becomes a handy selfie stick, which I used on one of the previous videos. Currently, Neewer tripod and selfie stick and Neewer RGB lamp I'm very impressed with. For the final scene, I needed to rearrange the equipment like this. So we wanted a close-up of this area here, so when we're using the can opener, we can get some side-on footage from this camera, and it's side lit using the RGB light on this tripod selfie stick again. That's a fairly low angle, and then in combination with that, I have this action camera magnetized to the lanyard again, which is angled downwards towards what I'm doing with the can opener and the red salmon can there. By the way, I didn't really throw this away, just for the video effect, put it in the bin, but I took it back out, and this will go into the actual recycling for recycling processing. As with previous videos, I had a cup of tea which has gone completely cold. So when I start videoing, I just get completely into it. That's it for the making of. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to add a comment down below, then feel free to do so. Catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Have fun. Bye for now.